they took a decision and said that OS is the preferred bidder for the San Fernando to Point Fortin Highway. They took the decision. Huh? When we get into office, we said, okay, we want to build this highway, very important for the people of South Trinidad, Point Fortin, and so on. There's a hold up. But we already tell people they're the preferred bidder. They have some type of legal rights and so on now because they have been awarded in that sense, and they are the preferred bidder. We said, but you did this the Friday before the election. Okay, we had to meet and treat. We went through a long process and so on. Things, OS continued and so on. But we were saddled with OS because they made them a preferred bidder that carries certain legal entitlements. Do you know I have in my hand a document dated, let me get close and let me put on my glasses for that, yes? This thing is serious. It is dated April 14, 2025. What's the date today? 16, good, 48 hours ago. This document is dated April 14, 2025. Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, matter for consideration of the Cabinet Oversight Committee. Evaluation report on the invitation to tender for the public-private partnership project of the Port of Spain. Let me repeat that. Evaluation report on the invitation to tender for the public-private partnership project for the Port of Spain. And it goes through some technical detail. I won't read it for you. But the long and short is that they invited companies, international firms and so on, in shipping, we assume, and they invited them to tender for a private-public partnership with the Port of Spain, where they will lease the assets. They will surrender the assets of the people of Trinidad and Tobago to a foreign company. They invited them to tender. 6 prospective bidders tendered and so on in July 17, 2024. That's last year, of course. And they outlined the tendering and so on. They said the prospective tenderer must demonstrate 1, 2, 3. The members of this board, we must identify them. In the interest of transparency, we must identify them. I'm sorry, but we must. Chairman Nigel Edwards, Executive Director, Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation. Executive Director appointed by who? By who? Jonathan Suhan, Acting Treasury Solicitor, Ministry of Finance. Demi John Quickshaw, Member of the Executive of the Tobago Chamber. Dominic Rampasad, President, Phoenix Gas Processors. Shalana Mahabir, Representative, Ministry of Finance. Commodore Garnett Best, Representative of the Ministry of Works. Candice Gomez Batiste, Representative of the Port Authority. Majority of people here are appointed by the PNM government in one form or fashion. So they tell us a summary of it, and they indicate to us that after they went and checked through everything and so on, the people submitted, the bidders submitted what is called legal documents and what is called commercial documents. And the commercial tender and the legal documents were submitted and so on. And they went through and they outlined some technical details and so on. But they have made a recommendation. They have made a recommendation to accept the bid, and they call it a prospective tenderer, coming out of the evaluation process using the evaluation criteria and so on. This committee has determined that the tenderer, International Container Terminal Services Incorporated, has successfully fulfilled the requirements of the RFP and the PPP agreement. You understand what happened? They are telling an international firm, you have successfully completed it. And we understand that in the final round, only one firm submitted the final documents. So one firm submitted final documents, no more, out of 6 or so. And this corporation is from the Philippines. It is from the Philippines. Not Philippines, South Trinidad here. The Philippines. Who are they? What are they? Who are they connected to? That you will take the assets, millions and millions of dollars of assets, and pass it to them on the eve of a general election. Tonight we want to ask them, what is the status of the workers? They have had no consultation with the Seamen and Waterfront Workers Union, the recognized union there. There's a collective bargaining process. There are collective agreements in place. What is the status of that with this arrangement? They have outstanding collective negotiations taking place, brothers and sisters. They have a matter, an outstanding 12% wage increase that was from 2015, when the Port Workers Union negotiated with the Port Authority and agreed on 12%. The PNM government, they never recognized that agreement. What happens to the 12%? Now, what happens to the workers? Over 1,500 port workers, their necks are on the block. They are on the chopping block if this sees the light of day, brothers and sisters. And they come to do this on the eve of an election. So when we get in there, it's the OS all over again that we have to face. Tonight I asked them, they are going to privatize the port. Did they follow the procurement legislation? Today I asked, did the procurement regulator intervene and had anything to do with this proposal to at least surrender the assets of the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Brothers and sisters, they are setting a trap for the workers and an incoming government by placing a legal regulatory framework in place where we have to meet and treat with what they determine to be a preferred bidder. Not us, they. And did they do this with the Petrotrin refinery? Huh? Did they do this as well, to have a preferred bidder that nobody knows about and give away the assets at the refinery? That will not happen. We have committed to working with the OWTU to reopen the refinery in Trinidad and Tobago. So nobody are coming from Norway and taking that refinery. And I want to assure you, just as I assure you tonight, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is very clear, there will be no house building on 3rd Street, San Fernando by my Modsec school. There will be none. There will be no selling out of the assets of the port of Port of Spain to any foreign company. Tonight I ask, Mr. Seotiong, is this deal, does this have any connection to global finance of your brother, where your brother is a senior official of global finance? Is that company involved in this transaction? Is it involved? Did they play any part? Why was there a secret deal with this company who came in under the shadow of darkness? Nobody never hear about them. But we read now that they had what? Site tours and touring the place and things. When they toured the place, nobody knew that. But they were touring, brothers and sisters. This is the PNM's trademark of selling out and surrendering the assets of Trinidad and Tobago on the eve of a general election. This speaks of kickback. Why do you do this? Because nothing will happen between now and the election. No port not developing, no port not good. They're not going to change management. They will do nothing. We are asking the question, who was involved in this deal? Were there any unscrupulous activities taking place, nefarious activities behind the scene concerning this project? This project must be reviewed, revised, brothers and sisters, and we commit tonight for transparency, openness, and honesty in dealing with the people's asset. You cannot take up assets like the port of Port of Spain and just surrender it to anybody, just so, without the participation of the workers. And knowing what is the fate of the workers, will all 1,500 have to go home and then you hire back 100 of your selected people? No, no, no. That, as Philip Watts tells us, that is working here tonight. Not tonight. And that will not work for the people of Trinidad and Tobago as we come to this election. So the port workers, your families, your friends, tonight I tell you, take note, be vigilant. They intend to retrench you and send you home, terminate your employment. And Stuart Young is on record in Hansard when he said when you close down a company, you don't have to pay severance. You close down the company. Isn't it interesting, huh? He's on record in Hansard. He said when you close down a company, you don't have to pay severance. Watch them for closing down the port if, God forbid, they return. And this will be the model for WASA as well. They will shut down WASA for a month or so, open a new company and throw away all the workers. And say, well, we don't have to pay nothing. We don't have to pay nothing. The law doesn't provide for that. So tonight we call upon the procurement regulator to tell us about this deal. Name the PNM financiers that are involved in this project. This is an election financing project. Name the financiers, brothers and sisters, who are involved in this deal tonight. Name them.